Hinton Ampner is the first haunted location we're going to be talking about. It used to be a large Tudor manor in the 16th century, and just a century later, there are written records of strange goings-on. In 1765, Mary Ricketts and her family moved into Hinton Ampner, and perhaps fearing for her sanity, she kept a record of her experiences. Doors were heard slamming at night, and once the family were happy it wasn't the servants making the noise, they changed the locks in case someone had gained entry into the house, but the noises continued. On a few occasions, servants reported seeing a figure dressed in drab-coloured coat, while kitchen staff saw a tall woman in a dark silk dress rush through the room. But a man coming in at the same time saw nothing. Mary wrote about hearing the most loud, deep, tremendous noise, which seemed to rush and fall with infinite velocity and force on the lobby door, followed by a shrill and dreadful shriek, repeated 3 or 4 times before the sound grew fainter as if descending into the earth. While her husband was away, Mary confided in her brother about what was happening. He and a friend decided to keep watch. One night, Mary heard the sound of gunshot, followed by groans of a person in agonies or expiring, while her brother reported hearing an immense weight that seemed to fall through the ceiling on the floor. In 1772, the family moved out, but the spooky goings-on apparently didn't stop. When the house was demolished in 1793 to make way for the Georgian manor, workmen discovered a box containing a small skull thought to have belonged to a child, the product of an illicit love affair. The Eclipse Inn has an important connection to the rebellion of the 1680s. Lady Alicia was held here whilst waiting her execution after being sentenced to death for harbouring rebels by the notorious hanging Judge Jeffreys. For the execution, a structure was built outside the Eclipse, and Lady Alicia spent the last day of her life in a small room upstairs, before being beheaded on the 5th of September 1685. There have been many sightings throughout the years of a ghost called the Lady in Grey, in the passage outside the room where Lady Alicia was held. Her sudden appearance has startled staff and customers alike. Clothed in grey woolen dress, she watches them silently from the dark. The sound of her heels clicking on the floor has also been heard. You can occasionally hear construction noises, even though none are going on. These are presumed to be the echoes of the structure Alicia was hung on. In the 1930s, villagers reported seeing Lady Alicia's carriage ride round town, to then disappear with nothing there. You can book a dining experience in the room she spent her final night, which is daunting but also pretty cool. The next haunted location is the Dolphin Hotel. I've covered this place before and I did a little ghost investigation there, so if you've seen those videos, feel free to skip ahead. There are reportedly 6 ghosts that call the Dolphin Hotel home. 2 ghosts have been seen in the underground medieval vaults that lay under the building. One's name is Tom, who is believed to be a cellar man or a barrel man, and the other is a younger man whose name hasn't been discovered or given. Molly the chambermaid is also a very well-known ghost. Her supposed story says that she was a young woman whose love interest had cheated on her. She couldn't cope with the pain, so she ended her life in the stable block. Another ghost is called Beau. He is apparently a man of large stature in Georgian clothing, who is often seen looking out a bay window on the first floor. Reports of this ghost date all the way back from 1750. The next ghost is known as the Grey Lady. We've already had a Grey Lady in this video, but this is a different Grey Lady. Little is known about this apparition and why she haunts and stays at the hotel. She is seen in a Victorian-style dress that is constantly flowing with ribbons. The last entity known to live in the hotel is a poltergeist. Doors open and slam by themselves. Wardrobes in people's private rooms also open and slam by themselves. So anyway, if you think this location's interesting, please go check out my investigation video I did there. It's pretty interesting. We get some good spirit box responses. So, yeah, if you want. The park was once home to the Army's first purpose-built military hospital, which opened in 1863, housing 138 wards and 1,000 beds. All that remains today is the chapel, which acts as a heritage centre. A cemetery with hundreds of Commonwealth war graves, mostly from the First World War, can be found further into the park. As there were so many deaths and there are so many people buried here, it's not hard to imagine why this area is haunted. Legend has it that the site's haunted by the Grey Lady. She was thought to have been a young nurse who committed suicide by throwing herself from the chapel towers after accidentally killing a patient. Other versions of the story are that she was madly in love with a patient who returned to war, or that her love was killed in a battle and she wanted to be with him. There are a few theories behind this ghost. Hurst Castle was deemed the most advanced fortress in England when it was built on the orders of Henry VIII. During the 17th century, it was used as a prison, and amongst its inmates was Charles I. He was held here before his execution. It's said his ghost has been seen walking the lookout posts. But his is not the only spirit to haunt the fortress. It's said a monk haunts the narrow hallways. Doors slam on their own and voices can be heard down hallways when nobody else is. Since there were so many prisoners here, it stands to reason many died here. Who knows how many remain? Prisons in the 17th century were kept in awful conditions, diseases spread like wildfire, and death was all too common. So there we have it, Hampshire's 5 most haunted locations. If you have any locations you think should have been on this list, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching if you made it this far.